Hi, everyone. Welcome to the QRCA International Chapter's third webinar. So we are super excited to have everyone here. So for those that aren't familiar with QRCA, so that's an acronym for the Qualitative Researchers Consultants Association. But basically all things qual. So we love qual here at QRCA, and it's something that we're trying to, it's a fantastic organization that we really believe in. And myself and my co-chair, Dave Kay, based in the UK. Oh, so for those that don't know me, I'm Nicola Quayle, based in Sydney, Australia. So myself and Dave are the co-chairs of QRCA, and its organisation based in the US that is all about promoting qualitative research. And as part of this, we are hosting monthly webinars to try and enhance our knowledge about sort of the latest and greatest in all things research, and particularly qualitative research. So we're super excited today to have Emily Blumenthal from Yabble. Hi. And Emily's here to take us through the crazy new world of virtual audiences or synthetic data, which, you know, you may think, well, what does that have to do with qual? It has a lot to do with qual. This is definitely not a kind of quant thing. In fact, its roots are based out of qualitative research. So we know this is the future, and really the future is kind of already here. So I'm really excited to introduce Emily and to take us through the world of virtual audiences. Emily's going to take us through a presentation for about 15 minutes, and then we're going to have breakouts after that, really just to kind of, Emily will pose a question, or we might pose it to ourselves. So you'll just introduce yourselves to each other and then discuss a little bit, and then we'll come back. So Emily, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Great. Thank you for the opportunity, Nikki, to come along and have a chat about AI in the research context. I'm just going to get up my presentation. You'll have to excuse my voice a little bit. I'm getting over a cold, and I've got my little honey tea sitting here just so I can get through the prezzo. But thankfully, you won't hear a huge amount of me talking in this. I've actually got some videos, because as Nikki said, actually really talking about what virtual audiences is, it's actually quite hard to articulate. So I'm going to be showing you a lot of this new technology, which I think is probably the better way to give you a taste of what we've been up to.
Emily, do you want to just quickly introduce yourself and Yabble, or is that part of here? Oh, yeah, sorry. Oh my gosh, so I'm jumping ahead.
That's all good. It's all good. So first of all, just a little bit about me. I've basically spent my entire career in research, data analytics, and insights. I love it. I started out as a 17-year-old as a cashier interviewer at AC Nielsen. I did not love that job at all, but it did give me a little taster for research. I've since spent a lot of time on the brand side, so I've done a lot of client-side work, building and leading out customer experience and insights teams. I'm very passionate about technology and the role that it plays within research and insights and data. But I have to say, if you'd told me, say, 18 months ago that I'd be, inside an AI technology company, real bleeding edge of the stuff, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But I think that just goes to show how quickly this space is moving, and how we're all just going to be coming along for the ride no matter what. So a little bit about Yabble before we kind of get into it. So Yabble is a New Zealand founded organisation by a lady called Catherine Top. Some of you may be familiar with Catherine. She is one of the best researchers probably globally, and she really Yabble's actually been around for 10 years. It started out as a research consultancy, but it really pivoted when it saw this opportunity to create technology and AI solutions to really fast track the research process, bring in new data sources, and really kind of supercharge the industry. So that's what Yabble is all about. I'm going to just talk about one of the areas that we are working on today because it's the most exciting. Everything else is a little bit more operational. So we're going to talk about virtual audiences, as Nikki mentioned. I'm going to go, so because we only have 15-ish minutes, it might be a little longer than that. Sorry, Nikki, I'll try and do my best. I'm going to show you mostly application because I think that's where it kind of really demonstrates the power of it. And if we have time, and keep me honest, Nikki, because I do ramble sometimes, I'm going to show you what's coming next. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, so this is one of the sort of the geekiest parts of the presentation. I promise everything else is really, it's a lot more exciting. But this is what we call the Yabble virtual audience model. And I think it's important to understand how our synthetic data product is powered because there's a lot of difference out there in the market. So first of all, we are taking the smarts from the large language models. So, all of those, OpenAI, the Google, everyone that's doing really smart things in this generative AI space. But we're actually taking them into a closed proprietary Yabble environment. We're fine-tuning those models and we're really ensuring that they are fit for purpose for research tasks. So we're building specific models. What that means is we're not feeding anyone's data or anyone's IP back into those large language models. They're completely gated and secure, which is super important when you're obviously running really sensitive insights and research projects. So on the right-hand side, these are the sorts of data that our AIs will go out and gather. So you can see there we've got review data, we've got a little bit of social media in there. We don't tend to go too deep into social media just because the quality for insights can be a little bit variable across the sites. We grab all of the really awesome secondary research data available through a lot of the consulting sites, government sites, reputable news firms, and we do that across the globe. And there is an incredible amount of publicly available data that can be used for insights that we can access here. And then on the left-hand side, we allow clients to actually upload their own proprietary data into the model as well. So this is really helpful if you've done things like, you've run some interviews and you've got some transcripts. We might have a focus group transcript. We could have a quant study, some customer feedback tracking that the client might have, articles like specific journals and sort of reference insights reports that only you have as an industry. So you can put it all into this sort of virtual knowledge lake. And then we essentially kick off a research process off the back of that. And we use that data to train the AIs. I'll just take you through kind of that process. But essentially what we're doing is we're choosing a topic. So this is a very, very general topic. I'll give you some examples a little bit later on, obviously, of the different types of topics that we can put through this capability. But essentially, you pick your topic. We try and be as descriptive as we can actually in that topic, in describing the topic, because essentially at that point, the AI is going out and it's gathering all of the data that's relevant in and around that topic, and it's building a proprietary knowledge lake for that topic. And then we'll create some personas on the fly, which you can completely customize. You can tell the AI to go back and try again if you don't like them. You can actually write specs, you can exclude stuff, very similar to a research process when we're briefing in our target audiences. And then the AI will even come up with some questions for you. But again, we can rewrite them, we can add them up to 20 questions. So we can go quite in depth. And as Nikki mentioned, this is actually quite qualitative. So the questions are, I would say, more like a discussion guide in the nature of their structure and their output than they would be a quantitative survey at this stage. So it's a little bit like on steroids. And then essentially we put our study out to market, and we have 100 AI virtual audience members answering that survey that all represent a proportion of our personas. And then we get some really nice little reports and insights back. This is just a bit of just a quick kind of review of the types of studies that we've been putting through virtual audiences. I won't go through them in detail, but we'll see a few of these in the videos and examples as I'm going through. So let's get to the application part. So I've got a few videos of some of the recent case studies that we've been working on. So the first one is the Freya's bread brand. And essentially we're just looking at all of the perceptions out in market on the Freya's brand, and we're looking for some recommendations on where Freya's could innovate or improve their offering. Now, we've actually got one of our AI assistants to actually record the process flow through some of the tools here, just so you can sort of see the process of generating the project and then some of the initial kind of summary and reports that come through. So I'm going to play that video for you now.
Let's ask virtual audiences what New Zealand consumers think about the Freya's bread brand.
Emily, I'm just thinking, sorry, whether you maybe
Factors in
unmute yourself.
household
There we go. Get yourself on mute.
Is that all right, Nikki?
That's better. We just couldn't hear the sound because I think you'd muted yourself.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll take myself off. I've had my cough now. Let me keep going.
more. When we start setting up our virtual audience,
okay.
the AI has generated
Okay, we might
started.
I'll just go through a little bit.
I am happy with these ones though, so we will continue to review our choices before yell about Freya's bread products and brand.
I really enjoy Freya's bread products, especially their lower carb soy and linseed bread. I appreciate their focus on health and nutrition, but I think they could improve their sustainability efforts, perhaps by using more eco-friendly packaging. I also think they could expand their gluten-free range to be more inclusive. I'm satisfied with their variety, but I'd love to see more innovative flavors and types, like bread enriched with superfoods or seasonal flavors.
What are some ways that Freya's could improve their sustainability efforts?
Freya's could improve their sustainability efforts by using more eco-friendly packaging, perhaps by using biodegradable or compostable materials. They could also consider implementing a recycling program for their packaging. Additionally, they could look into sourcing their ingredients from local or organic farms, which would not only support local businesses, but also reduce their carbon footprint. Lastly, they could consider donating any unsold bread to food banks or other charities to help reduce food waste.
What changes would you suggest they make to their gluten-free range to make it more inclusive?
I believe Freya's can make their gluten-free range more inclusive by expanding the variety of gluten-free bread options, improving the taste and texture, introducing innovative flavors, and offering seasonal or limited edition varieties. They should also consider using eco-friendly packaging for their gluten-free products. This would not only cater to a wider range of consumers, but also align with their sustainability efforts.
This persona chat is awesome for uncovering even richer insights from your virtual audience using natural language. Now that we are ready to share the insights from our virtual audience project with stakeholders or clients, we can export our project report, which includes all of the information we have seen in our market insights and topic insights summary pages, as well as a summary of any proprietary data we had uploaded if relevant, and the top themes and sentiments from each survey question once that has finished processing behind the scenes by Yabble count.
Okay, so that's just a bit of a whirlwind. Sorry about the sound at the beginning. I didn't realize by muting myself that we would miss out.
Let's ask virtual audiences.
Okay, so that just gives you a bit of an understanding of the flow through the product and the types of insights that we get coming out. I think one of the most powerful things about this particular capability is the qualitative aspects as well. So I'm gonna just share with you just some of the persona chat, because essentially these personas are pulling on a huge amount of data, and we can have some quite in-depth chats with them to really uncover some, specific kind of areas. So we'll have a bit. This is actually a wine future of wine trends. So we'll just have a little listen to a chat with some more of our personas.
Hi, I'm Sarah, one of the personas from this virtual audiences project. This project focuses on the market trends around wine varietals, packaging, flavor preferences, and consumer preferences. Let's take a look at where wine can innovate beyond where it is today by chatting with our personas, including myself, about the topic.
Is the calorie content of a wine important to your purchasing decision?
Yes, the calorie content of a wine is important to my purchasing decision. As a health-conscious individual, I prefer wines with lower calorie content or those that are marketed as part of a healthy lifestyle.
Would beneficial ingredients that offer additional health benefits make a higher calorie option more appealing to you?
Yes, beneficial ingredients that offer additional health benefits would make a higher calorie option more appealing to me. I see it as a trade-off for the added health benefits it provides. However, the higher calorie option should still be within a reasonable range and not excessively high in calories.
When you socially drink, do you prefer to drink wine poured from the bottle or individually packaged servings?
When I socially drink, I'm open to both options. Wine poured from the bottle or individually packaged servings. I appreciate alternative packaging like cans and Tetra Pak for their convenience and eco-friendliness. I'm also open to trying new things, so I wouldn't mind trying individually packaged servings.
What are the key indicators to you that a wine is premium or super premium?
To me, the key indicators that a wine is premium or super premium include the quality of grapes used, the vineyard's location, the winemaking techniques employed, the wine's aging potential, the reputation and brand of the winery, and the price. However, these indicators can vary depending on individual preferences and evolving consumer trends.
Brand that you trust?
Okay, I'm
Yes.
just gonna stop this one here because we could go on. So as you can kind of see, we've got the ability to chat with our personas.
Consider trying new
Varieties.
varieties.
Sorry, I'm just having a little bit of trouble getting my video to go to the next one. That's a YouTube issue.
Sounds convenient and
Yeah,
perfect for
just-
social.
All right, let me just reshare. Sorry about that. I'm not quite sure what's going on with that one. Okay, and we'll just do the last example up here. She still wants to come back. Here we go. So yeah, just a bit of example of you can have a lot of fun. You can waste a lot of time chatting with the personas, and they will give you honest answers, and which can be quite interesting. So the last real life example I'm going to give you today is actually an idea that I came up with, which is always a little bit of a risk. And this is I don't know if you're familiar with the Nothing Naughty protein bars. Don't know if you have them in Australia, but they're delicious. And essentially my kids love them. I've got 2 3-year-olds, and I'm always a bit concerned, like, should I actually be giving them protein bars, not whole ones obviously, but are they actually suitable for children? So I created a little concept test here, and you can sort of see here the level of detail that I put in. You can see that AI doesn't mind about typos either, which is always good if you're in a bit of a rush. And I've got quite a lot of detail in here, about pack format, channel, flavors. We've got an audience specification here, which the AI has come up with, which I was relatively happy with. So what I'm going to do is, these were some of the questions that we asked, fairly standard, what are your initial thoughts, etc. But I'm actually going to show you what I did with the insights afterwards, because I think as researchers, that's probably quite helpful. So obviously you saw in the phrase example, we get lots of reports and there's some analytics in the platform that you can have a look at, but how do we actually take these insights and actually make them useful for a client is probably the next example. So what I did was I read through all the reports and I actually learned a lot about the category. So the one thing I learned that was an absolute game changer was that Australian and New Zealand children actually eat more protein than that they actually need, and that's what's actually recommended. And too much is actually not great for their gut health. So that was a big learning for me. I also learned that parents want more ingredients around probiotics for gut, more fiber in their kids' food. So I hadn't considered that. So there were some really good learnings. I also learned that the Nothing Naughty brand has an awesome brand reputation in market. So that was, good to know. So I got some examples from other markets of some kids' bars that are doing really well and kind of fitting the bill. And then this is some of the analytics. So within the platform, we can see an overall sentiment. So this here is, it's not a relatively positive sentiment score overall, but to be honest, if I was going to launch a product, I'd probably want it to be a little bit higher than that. If we look down here, there's lots of positives about it, but there's a few little orange lights in here which are a bit of a concern. So you can see protein content for kids is something that we're not sure about that, not sure whether that's something that's necessary. And there's a lot of parents that needed more convincing. And if you look down the right-hand column here, you can actually read all the comments from the AIs. So all the information and the detail is in there. I can also use Gen Chat, which is a AI research assistant over the top of all of this data, and I can just ask the questions straight up that I'm looking for to save time. So for me, I just asked, hey, what are the top 3 ingredients? And then there was this talk about whole food ingredients, and I was like, well, give me some examples. And Jen has given me some examples, but also in the context of kids' protein bars, which is just, really helpful and in context for the research. So that's just a bit of a whirlwind of, just how to kind of take that data and transform it into some insights for a client. And this was my summary that I wrote at the end, which we don't need to go through, but just to kind of show you the level of, kind of insight and depth that you can get out of one of these little studies. Just what I haven't added in here, but just you're probably wondering about time and cost. I did have a slide in here, but I must not have pasted it in. But essentially this, so the cost of running one of these virtual audiences, including my time, was actually less than $1,000 for this particular Nothing Naughty study. And it took me half a day. Now I'm pretty quick now because I do virtual audiences all the time. But, it's a very, very quick methodology to bring through. So Nikki, I'm not sure. I feel like I might be running out of time to do what's next.
Yes. No,
Yes.
I think we've got a couple of questions, and normally we do breakouts, but I might open it up to everybody just to kind of do questions as a group. But Ilka had a question around, are the answers from the personas based on real quotes, or are they built up from the system?
Yeah, so essentially, there will be data and conversations happening in and around the quotes that come through, but no, we're not going one-to-one. So we're not finding a social media comment or a review and we're taking that language and pasting it in. It's the virtual audience members they're trained on the data, but they are unique in the way they're responding. Yeah, good question.
Fantastic. So does anyone else have any questions? Because you've got Emily here, so I would grab the opportunity now while you can, because this is such a evolution of the okay, so from Eleanor. Hi Eleanor. So regarding the personas, or still regarding the personas, so who creates them? Are they the same as like if you're feeding in the respondent specs, are they the same as those, or are they adapted slightly?
It's like really good. So today, with where the platform is, essentially you can provide quite a lot of instruction on what you want those personas to look like. So we've been doing a little bit of matching with some clients who have like a set segmentation, and we're getting pretty close. But we're not quite at the point where we can upload custom segments out of a client's database into the platform, but it's on the roadmap. So it's probably going to be here within the next 3 months because we're getting asked to do it a lot. So yeah, not today, but probably very soon.
Amazing. Wow. And then, you've got questions coming thick and fast.
I'll stop
Emma,
sharing,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So from Emma, so can we use the tool to understand how consumers might differ across markets, i.e. different countries?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really, really good for cross-market analysis. So essentially you just, in the topic, you just define the markets that you want to compare against. And then what will usually happen is the personas will represent those markets. And then you can run market-specific topics, so the same topic against different markets, and you can compare the results depending on how deep you want to go with your research topic.
Okay. Question from me. So, many freelancers and many researchers are involved with both qualitative and quantitative. So how do you apply this in a quantitative sense? I mean, obviously we've been talking about it from a qualitative perspective, but what quantitative applications are you seeing? I mean, we've got brand tracking and concept testing and all sorts going on. What's the thoughts there?
Yeah, so at the moment, there's a couple of quantitative analytics capabilities inside the platform that can help provide a bit more of a quantitative view. So we've got theme counting. So essentially, we can sort of see the weighting of a particular theme. We can also see sentiment, like how positive and how negative. So that provides a quantitative flavor, I would say. But obviously on the roadmap is rating scales is the next. Yeah, but it's very, very, it's really complicated. So yeah, it's a big job. But yes, that's 5-point scales, I think, is the first cab off the ranks for us to create. Yeah.
Wow. And we've got one more question from Kenneth. Hi, Kenneth. So thank you, Emily. So how do you alleviate concerns from clients around, kind of how PC the answers are and kind of lacking those, or the perception of lacking those real life stories or those kind of nuances? How do you get around that?
Yeah, look, I think we sort of say that this tool it's not for everything. So it covers around 20 to 30% of the research needs. So it works, and it's quite powerful when you combine it with, say some in-depth local interviews where you can actually really get underneath. But yeah, it's not yet going to give you those real human stories. I think, we're not going to claim that it's going to take over everything that we do, because I think there's nothing like those real human conversations to kind of bring out those little golden nuggets. But this will provide a really great framework, and some really good high level, chunky insights and trends that you might not get through, just doing some interviews. So the two work really well together.
Fantastic. Well, if nobody minds staying on a couple of minutes, we've got a couple more questions. So from Philip, hi Philip, can you vary the personas by social class or even geographic areas? In Australia, there's different states. I know we've got folks dialing in from Europe and the UK. How do you get those variations?
Yes, you can. So essentially there's a little box that's called the target audience summary, and it's a free text box, and you can literally write in what you want. So usually I'd recommend if you're wanting specific insights from particular regions, you put it in the topic box. So I'm interested in XYZ region. So that's usually we would put it in the topic box. But then when you get down to the personas, you can be quite prescriptive. Like you could sort of say, I would like a mix of socioeconomic, consumers between these age groups. And usually each persona will represent one of the regions that you've put up in the topic box. It tends to flow down quite well. So there's a lot of flexibility, and if you don't get it right the first time, you can go again and regenerate them until you get the personas that you feel are right for the study.
Okay, fantastic. Well, if you don't mind, a couple more final questions. So Paul was wondering, as observant as Paul is, noticed that on one of the slides, the persona said they like the flavour of the linseed bread. So just wondering, how on earth can you get something that's pretty subjective to be answered by a virtual persona? How does that work?
Yeah, so essentially so the sources that we're using a lot of review data and Google data. So essentially while we're not like literally selecting a comment that someone made on a Google Trends site, we're essentially bringing all of those together, and we're training the AI through a particular persona lens to answer that question. So there'll be probably lots of comments around, review sites and social conversations about how delicious the linseed bread is. And from that particular type of persona. So that's what they're picking up on.
Fantastic. Well, the final question before we sign off, and if anyone needs to go, feel free. But Emma was just wondering, look, it is a big leap for clients to go from I'm sitting watching 8 people in a focus group or kind of, observing a one-on-one interview to kind of this data that's coming back from virtual people. So how have you communicated or given peace of mind or helped clients kind of get over that hurdle?
Yeah, no, that's a really great question. So I think what we tend to do in the clients that I'm working with who are conducting the research, we put it as we integrate it into the overall research program. So for example, I've just had a proposal that I've created for council here in New Zealand. And essentially we're doing like a significant U&A quant study up front. But then we're going to use virtual audiences to concept test the ideas that they come up with at the end. And they're really comfortable with that. The other way we use it is let's do a discovery phase for this program, and we're going to go out to virtual audiences just to see what data is available out there that can help us build a bigger picture before we go into like maybe a much more in-depth qualitative phase. So we use it kind of, it's really good as a lead tool. So, before we kick into a research program, we run it, and then it's really good for concept testing. And then also if there's audiences that are quite hard to reach, it can help just provide a lens over those audiences that you wouldn't probably be able to get anyway because they're quite hard to reach. So it just helps like round it out. But I wouldn't recommend, unless you've got a very, very kind of open-minded client, just literally pitching this on its own. Like I think it needs to be supported by research, traditional research at this stage. Yes.
No, watch this space.
Exactly.
Look, thank you so much, Emily. I could tell everyone stayed on, everyone's super engaged. So really, really appreciate your time. And for all of those signing off from the QRCA global webinar. And if you're interested in learning more about the QRCA, so you can head to the website, qrca.org, or reach out to us to find out more information about how you can join. Really want to say a big thank you to Emily, and we can, send through Emily's details in a follow-up note. But have a good rest of the morning, lunchtime, or afternoon or evening. So look forward to seeing you next month. All right, see everybody. Thank you.